So do we have to wait until we're triggered? Or is there like a daily practice? Yeah. What's the daily to just clean the system of this baggage we may be carrying around?
Well, absolutely. And that's of course the emotion code method. And it is a really simple method. In the book, what we do is we teach people how to do it. You have to get answers from the subconscious mind, because the problem is the conscious mind knows very little, remembers very little about all the things we've been through. The subconscious, on the other hand, remembers, it's like a steel trap. I mean, it remembers everything with a perfect understanding. So we have to communicate with it. And so we teach different methods of doing that. For example, different methods of muscle testing, where you ask a question, the answer is a stronger muscle or a weaker muscle, right? You can use a pendulum, you can use different dowsing devices and so on. And it's all explained in the book, but it is a simple process. And it's something that even children, learn how to do and are doing effectively. Yeah.
But, a lot of those modalities are like, I look at them, the crystals, the muscle testing, and I'm fine with them. I can see how they would work, but I think the general public still doesn't understand what's the scientific reasoning behind that. So just so we don't lose people in this conversation, can you explain the validity of those? Because it's so fascinating to me that we'll take an over-the-counter medication without ever asking what the side effects are. And if our doctor says, take this, we're like, yes. But if all of a sudden you hear a conversation like this, where your emotions are trapped and you should, put a crystal over you or a muscle test, now people are like, peace out. Little do they know the medication's more harmful than something like this. So give us some context to understand that form of testing so we don't lose people.
Right, absolutely. Well, the fact of the matter is muscle testing or communicate, it's one of the ways that you can communicate with the subconscious mind, is used all over the world by, in the most advanced cancer treatment centers, for example, that are, on the holistic side of things. It's used by doctors of all stripes, more so doctors that are, again, leaning towards the holistic side of things. But there are studies that show that muscle testing it's definitely valid. There is a change that takes place. Think about it this way. If you're hooked up to a lie detector device, right?
That's beautiful.
There is a physiological change that takes place in your body. That's what's being measured on that device, right? Okay. And so unless you've taken the mafia course, lie detector 101, they're going to know that you're lying, right? Because of those physiological changes that take place. So muscle testing is just a way to pick up those physiological changes without having to buy a lie detector or a bunch of expensive equipment. It's just easy to do it on yourself. And you can try this at home. For example, if I were there with you, Mindy, I could have you hold one arm out parallel to the floor. If I were to press down on the end of your outstretched arm, you should be able to resist me, okay? If you were to make a true statement, such as, my name is Mindy, that would be true or congruent. If I were to press down on your arm, you would stay strong. On the other hand, if you were to say something that's incongruent or untrue, for example, if you were to say, my name is Jill, not true, if you were to try to resist my downward pressure at that point, your arm would weaken. And so this is something that has been known about for a long, long time. It began to come back into the consciousness of the world back in the 1960s. There was a doctor by the name of George Goodhart, brilliant guy. Yeah, you've heard of him.
The chiropractor that I've been going to a chiropractor since I was a kid because I had ear infections, and he trained under Goodhart. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Yep. Very familiar with him.
There you go.